Right, good afternoon. It is 3 o'clock. It's Amsterdam time. We are Conscious World Agents live every week at Facebook. And today our topic is
Respect. R-E-S-P-E-C-T.
nice one. Respect and consciousness. So, yes, we wrote posts about this week, and we hope you had a very good week, of course. And thanks for joining us if you're watching this live session. And wow, what a week! What a week!
Yeah, a lot of things happened.
A lot of things happened, wonderful things happening, and so we are here today about the topic of respect. So the power of respect. Don't know if you had time to read our post about it, but maybe you want to start with your post and see what you want to share about it.
Yes, well, a lot of people talk about we need to show respect to others, we need to respect their opinions and so on. And that's great, I think you're right and at that point. But what I also often see is that if people start a conversation and the other one has a different opinion, and suddenly we don't really listen that well anymore. Suddenly we listen to react instead of listen to understand. And even if you then let the other people speak, are you really listening, or are you in your own head with your own conversation? And how much respect is it then to let the other person speak, but you're not listening? And for me, respect starts with respect for yourself. And what does that mean? Well, respect is just like trust or honor. It's a verb. And with a verb, you need to do something. And with a verb, you need to do it in a verbal way or a non-verbal way. And that means, do you really show it to the other person? Do you really say it to the other person? And do you show the care? Do you admire, for instance, and not put another person on a pedestal, but do you admire what he or she has accomplished? Or the abilities or the strength of that person? Do you really respect that? But it starts with showing respect to yourself. And what I see, a lot of people are in a reactive mode due to the fact that they don't respect their own abilities, their own strength, their own achievements, because they think it's normal or it's not good enough compared to other persons. And there was an American football player, and his name was Marcus Allen, and I will read his quote. He said, "Love yourself, respect yourself, never sell yourself short, believe in yourself regardless of what other people think. You can accomplish anything, absolutely anything, if you set your mind to it."
Mm.
And I love this quote so much because it starts with you. And what I wrote in my post this week was some kind of experiment. Just go back to your life and write down 4 to 5, and it can be more, really important moments in your life that you made a change for yourself or other people. Look and write it really down in detail. Take half an hour for the 4 to 5 moments and then read it back. And then think, what should you say to a person who has accomplished this? What should you say to a person who showed this kind of power, this kind of strength, this kind of ability? What would you say to that person? Probably, wow, you're great. I love what you do. But you also say to yourself, wow, I'm great. I love what I do. And it's not being arrogant, it's about being honest to yourself. And for me, honesty and respect are really related to each other. And if you can really honor yourself, if you can really respect yourself, then it's so much easier to listen to the other person. It's so much easier to show genuine care. It's so much easier to show genuine compliments to the other one. And then it's not about yourself, it's about the other. And for me that's true. That's the real respect that we can show to each other. I can tell much more, but
Go on, it's lovely.
so just write down what you think about this in the comments, and also how much do you really respect yourself? And that's what Marcus Allen says, regardless of what other people think of you. Can you look back to your own life and see how great you are? You don't have to change anything if you really, really look honest to yourself and show the respect of all the things that you already accomplished. And that's so much more than you can think of. And we only look at, well, not only, but we look a lot at famous people and also the soccer player, the football player, and so on. But that's not what it is in life. It's about yourself. And once you recognize this, and once you recognize and acknowledge your own strength, life will be much easier. And you feel much more freedom. You want to ask something, say something?
No.
No. Okay.
Is that all you were going to say about it? Because I feel there's a little bit more.
Well, for now it's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Wow, I loved it. I think it's really something that people forget about, respecting themselves. And I think there is also this blind respect that we have as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's a little bit what my post was about as well.
Yeah.
Like Einstein, he really questioned his teachers when he was studying a lot, and often not in a very respectful way, we might say. But he was very challenging, and he also said, that we, if we just put our own respect to the side and we just don't question the people in authority, and if we give our respect away to them without knowing if they're really speaking the truth or not, that could be really dangerous, because then we say yes and we nod yes to something because people are put in a position of where the society thinks they should be respected. Now, and that we could question. And a lot of people nowadays think, well, that person should know because he's a doctor or she's a doctor, or he's in politics, so they have the best intention for us and whatever. And sometimes we really need to question that, if people are really having those intentions of wanting to have the best not only for themselves but also for others. So that, I think, could be blind respect of what our culture tells us, perhaps, or our society tells us we should be doing, and that we could investigate. We could investigate, saying, "Oh, well, is that really true what that person is saying?" So, in many cultures, like today, I was having a call with a lot of people from India. That's very much a guidance culture as well, and they respect their elders a lot and so forth. And people are often very shy there as well, to get, like, I was training 27 people, and to get them engaged, because they see you then as a teacher, they think, oh, well, maybe, she should know better, or maybe I should be quiet. So to get that engagement in a training like that is quite interesting, because they see me then as a respected teacher. But I'm taught in a way that for me it's to draw out what the participants have. So to have that game going on, it's like, okay, but do you want me to step back, or and I respect their opinion and their wisdom a lot. So it's interesting to see culturally also what respect means.
Absolutely.
So when we then look, for example, as the word respect, what does that mean? And it actually brings up a lot of emotion with people as well sometimes, because they feel they should have respected someone and they didn't, and they feel guilty about it, or because it's not socially accepted to challenge maybe somebody who's a respected elder in the community. And you see that sometimes in different scenarios. You've seen it in politics, you've seen it in churches, that people who were like an elder there or quite high in functions, and they did something that was disrespectful, and people didn't dare to challenge that because they would have perhaps been judged by the other members and so forth. And we see that in society as well. So the respect is can be quite complex as such. But why did we choose it? Why did we choose it as a topic this week with conscious world agents? Because it's like checking up with yourself. Just investigate for you, is it true? And I think that comes then down to this self-respect that you're speaking about. Because to give your blind faith just away, and there's also some cultures that are different with that, like in certain traditions, Tibetan Buddhist traditions, for example, when they have like a wise teacher there, that person might say something, and then people say, but is that really true? And they say, well, there's a certain level of faith you should have in that person. You maybe not comprehend yet what that person is saying, but trust that is the truth. But even then, I believe we should still investigate our own mind. Where are we with that? And when we do that, we can then make conscious choices, whether we engage with that person, or we follow their advice, or we follow certain rules or not. And then we at least didn't follow that blindly, but we really made a conscious choice. And I think that is your own level of consciousness. A checkup on that. Where am I with this? And with that, and still you can be respectful. You can still be respectful and saying, you can ask a question saying, but I respect that's your view. However, my view sees it like this, and then have a dialogue around that or something. So it's not that you then become straight to a disrespectful, I think, but it's also staying respectful to yourself. And I think there's also still then the stance of not knowing, to take the stance of, am I still open to receive? And I think that's often something we mention, we point out to also have a sense of humility. Like you say honesty, but I would also say humility is with that, and in a way of not making yourself smaller, but also understanding that maybe I don't know everything yet. And maybe I will never know everything. So there's that respect as well, that sometimes, yes, for example, with my grandparents, if I was younger and I would ask a question, I would respect them and know that their advice would be well chosen in my own benefit. And I would respect them for that. But if they would say something that was maybe because they, in my eyes, were a little bit old-fashioned, I would challenge them a bit, saying, well, I can see it like this. But it didn't mean that I lost my respect for them, but I wouldn't maybe always agree with their choices or beliefs around certain things. So what I think is important is that we check up with ourselves. How respectful are we to others? And when we are, what does it do to us? What does it do to us when we feel respected and when we respect others? Does that create a certain openness in our heart? And do we also feel how it affects us when we are treated respectfully? How does that make us feel? And when we are more aware of that, then I think we are more likely to also express that respect to others as well. And I would really hope that we would live in a society that both views or viewpoints or beliefs, or if people are having a conversation around something, are equally respected. You know, you don't always have to agree. You can agree to disagree as well, and then there's still that level of respect. So that common ground, that would be really helpful, I think, in our society. And we see that a lot now with certain issues that we maybe don't want to go into right now.
No.
But there is a little bit of a divide going on with people, and some views are not respected, and that I think is causing a lot of division, which is not very helpful.
Yeah, and I like that very much. Also, the cultural difference. I trained also all over the world, and you know, I'm from the Netherlands, and the Netherlands can be a little bit blunt, in at least in the perception of in other cultures. And I'm even within the Netherlands, you have a difference between the people who come from, let's say, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, or another area. Then even we are more blunt than the people who live in the south or the north of the Netherlands. And what I think, and that's if you have the respect for yourself, you don't have to convince the other person. You just say how you see it. And then the tone will be totally different. The charge won't be in it. And then you can have the dialogue instead of having this, let's say, discussions where sometimes people, shut down a little bit or get a little bit angry or frustration, the emotions comes in. So, also in other cultures, but also in your own culture, look where you can stay calm, where you can show the respect for yourself. And with that respect, you can have so much more influence on the conversation, on the surroundings, on your external world, instead of being... Yes! Part 2! Action!
Cut! We were just cut off just like that.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. But we're back. So hopefully people who were watching will get back as well. So that will be wonderful. If not, we will put in the notes, in the comments, that we perhaps welcome back. That we've had part 2. We will create part 2, and we won't be that long. But we just want to finish what we're talking about.
Good weekend,
No.
Nice weekend.
No, definitely not. So thanks for coming back. So we were talking about respect, and you were in the middle of saying something.
Is that so? Yeah, I think I was telling about how much impact and influence you can have on other people, on your external world, all the things that you think you can apparently not change. You cannot change the emotions of another person, you can only change your own emotions. But I guarantee you, if you show self-respect, self-love, and you radiate that, you will have influence on the emotions of other people. You will have influence on their reaction, on their behavior. And since everything we know now, we already know for thousands of years, but that everything is energy, can you imagine that if you radiate love for yourself, respect for yourself, and respect for the other person, and show care, how much influence it has on all the external things that you see, you experience in your life? It's so much more. You feel then freedom. You know that then you start to know that you are the creator of your own world. Mm-hmm. Life is a mirror. Respect is a mirror. You have to do something. If you want to have it, start giving it yourself and then give it to other persons. And that's what I think one of the best things is, to have the trust, the honesty, the honor, all these verbs. It starts by giving it yourself and then to other persons. And it's so much easier to give it to others if you have it yourself.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I think it's very important for people to know that, and for ourselves to remind ourselves of that. And another thing that really came to my mind the other day was like to have respect also can affect if you are daring to express yourself, yes or not. If you know you're going to be respected for your meaning or that or your opinion or your views, that might be just like that in a moment, but if you want to explore them, that they are not undermined or cut off, and that they are received, and that you can even express them when you're maybe a bit angry or
Disappointed.
yeah, something that you can express that, but that it's received in a field of love.
Absolutely.
And I think that is something we lack a lot in relationships, or and that could be in families, like in families, for example, what you see a lot of people, they feel that they need to deserve love, for example, or to get love from their parents or their carers. They need to do something to receive that love. And what I feel is like, if you have this respect for one another, you will also respect the other, viewing their views, viewing their emotions, viewing this or that, and then create a ground that you say, okay, well, we want this loving field to be present at all times because it's there. And that builds a sense of trust as well, and respect to one another. But when it's only like a stance of, I only love you when you do this or when you do that, then you also lose respect in a sense, because this, I think, very closely connected to love. So when you have this field of love, if you know that you are just love, because that's what I believe we are, and I think we both believe that we are this, or as Ram Dass used to say it, you are loving awareness. You are loving awareness. If you know that you are loving awareness, you can just also be aware and be mindful. Awareness is that wisdom, and loving is that kindness, compassionate side of yourself. And I was discussing this with someone today. Then you can have that respect for yourself also, this loving, compassionate side to yourself. And the willingness to learn, the willingness to explore, to expand your consciousness. And that is the awareness, this constant awareness that is seeing this dance that we're doing here in this life. And when that is met of this field of love, I think that automatically creates a lot of respect for one another. And that, I feel, is what we're lacking a lot, especially in the West. I see it more in certain countries that I visited in the East. There is more awareness around that. And it's passionate. And you also see it in Italian and Southern traditions.
Why you look at me?
I don't know. But it's more like, you can express yourself full with passion if you are like that. And then, still be met with love. And that is something I think we can look in within ourselves as well. Am I meeting everybody like that? And can they still be expressing themselves, but still knowing that there is this love between this field of love? Just wanted to add that to the
I love it.
To the discussion. So that was sort of, I think, for my part, what I wanted to share. What about you? Anything else that you want to add?
I think a lot of things about respect already has been said. And if you need to work with people, or you are in a relationship and you find respect very important, have the discussion, the dialogue with each other. What does respect mean to you? And what does respect mean to the other person?
Yeah.
And that's the norm where you, and it's also the expectation that you have from other people.
Yeah.
How you look at respect. And if they don't come up to your expectation, then they step on your value of respect. And when people trigger or step on your value of respect, maybe you get triggered, you get angry, frustrated, and that's not how you cope with me, and these kind of things. But maybe respect does really mean something different for them than for you. And as you don't have this exchange in the norm about this value, respect, then a lot of things can go wrong. Yeah. And then you can also step on the value or respect of the other person. And in the meantime you think, but I'm so respectful for you. Yeah. So have the dialogue about what does respect mean, what does honesty for you mean, what does trust mean for you. Yeah. How does it look like? What do I say then?
Yes, and we both have given so much training around these topics, and also with the guidelines, you know, for example, when you would look at respect as a guideline, and you would in a group then say, okay, what does respect mean for you and for you? And you get a whole list of different meanings.
Absolutely.
And then you wonder, how does anybody live up to the expectation of that person's description of respect? It's never possible. So you'll never find the commonness. So what we like to do is look at the commonness rather than the differences. So where do we have something in common when it comes to that? Rather than saying, well, you're right and I'm wrong, or, you know, the other way around. Look at the commonness and look at where can we find common ground here that we can brings us closer together rather than divide us, because we will never live up to the expectations of another person, because that's all our perception. And then look at yourself also. How has my perception